6 years ago, several of these videos would be uploaded to a channel that goes by MBG Core. These videos were creations of an artist, but quickly they became viral and then spread around TikTok and YouTube Shorts, claiming that they were something other than that. Many people rumored these videos to be different witches climbing along walls, and plenty of people would fall for this and believe it, while others would think it's some type of trick, or possibly even AI. When I talk about Snopes, most people I know think of it as just a political fact-checking website. But that isn't all that Snopes is. They fact-checked everything online in general. You can find many different topics that are covered across the entire website of Snopes. The witch videos I've showed in the beginning, I've only discovered because of Snopes. Now, those were obviously viral clips, so you might have seen them somewhere else, but I encountered them looking at Snopes' horror section. To me, I like the idea that a website like Snopes, where you really wouldn't think of it being used in this capacity, I could find something new that I haven't heard of there before. Now, I guess it might be because I don't really watch short-form content at all, TikTok or YouTube Shorts. This one might have went past my head. But this guy claims to see SlenderMan in Beauty and the Beast. Now, obviously to me, this already seems fake just by the expressions on this guy's face and poor acting. But also I've watched Beauty and the Beast, and that's definitely not in the movie. But this has apparently tricked many people. And so Snopes took it upon themselves to fact-check this video. Also, before even seeing what Snopes had to say about this guy's channel and his videos, you can go to his channel and just see that he is a prolific editor, so he is really great at After Effects. So obviously, most of the stuff on his channel is just fake, but there are many people in the comments who still believe that this stuff is real. What I love about Snopes is that they go so in depth for something so small, even watching multiple versions of that scene just to show everybody that there's definitely no SlenderMan in there, as if that wasn't going to be obvious enough. And of course, they marked this one as a big fat false, just like they did with the witch videos. The difference being, of course, that the witch videos aren't trying to trick anybody. The artist uploads them, talks about how he animated the videos, and takes full credit for them being fake, of course. And if you were an original fan of those videos, you might see that, but then people spread it on TikTok trying to trick the rest of the internet into believing that it was real. And Snopes took it upon themselves to mark it as false for those people. Snopes is a really old website, and they do try to debunk a lot of really serious topics that could impact a lot of the way that people think in the modern world. But I also think it's really interesting to see how they would debunk just small internet bamboozles like this one, like these ones I've shown you. And their history is quite deep. But to cover the history of Snopes, I want to pass it along to my friend and fellow YouTuber, Fredster2000.
Thank you, Mr. Snake. Hold on, it's just too bright. Let me just, That's better. So to you, the viewer, I want you to think about your first experiences or memories of being online, like the first website you ever visited. Because I, too, was a child of the internet, specifically of the late 2000s and early 2010s era. I've been so fascinated with this time period, in fact, that I based my whole YouTube channel around it. And one of my first memories of being online back in my Windows 95 run, dial-up internet having family computer was Snopes.com. And I know I'm not alone. I've read many stories of adults now who remember going on Snopes back when they were kids in the early 2000s, back when the internet was some unguarded, lawless Wild West, and not the corporate AI slop-ridden, bot-overrun hellscape that it is now. Good times! Anyway, to get into what Snopes even is, I think I need to dissect the term urban legend. A phrase that I don't really hear much about these days. It's since declined in popularity since 2004, according to Google Trends. But urban legends are basically modern folklore. Pre-internet, these were rumors that got spread around word of mouth, usually happening to a friend of a friend, to maintain a faint plausibility without needing the burden of proof. A lot of these urban legends were horror-based, like a spooky, scary campfire story, or just whatever could elicit a strong emotion, like perhaps things of a titillating, scandalous nature, like when Disney supposedly snuck in the word sex in The Lion King. I made a whole video about that. But the real intrigue comes from the fact that all of this could happen to you, the listener. So, some examples of urban legends from my childhood. My friend's aunt picked up a dog in a trip to Mexico, and when she brought it to the vet, it turned out to be a giant sewer rat. My sister's teacher's mom sat down in a movie theater and got injected with a syringe of blood that was HIV positive. My girlfriend's uncle's neighbor's dog went out for trick-or-treating and got razor blades in his Halloween candy. So, obviously some pretty far-fetched stuff, but these just spread through word of mouth and just sheer goddamn willpower. And urban legends were huge in the 90s. They even made a whole horror slasher movie about it. And so, super early in the decade, there was one group on Usenet. For those who don't know, Usenet is like a super early proto-Reddit where you can make groups and threads for specific topics and stuff. So there was one group on Usenet called the alt.folklore.urban, or AFU for short, that was dedicated to documenting and possibly debunking some of these urban legends that were circulating. It was on this Usenet group, AFU, that David Mikkelsen would meet his then partner Barbara Hamill, and together, as a couple at the time, in 1994, they would establish and manage the website we all know and love, Urban Legends Reference Pages, which was then just renamed to Snopes. Now initially, what David Mikkelsen envisioned to be a sort of encyclopedia-type reference site to document cool urban legends he heard became a legitimate, truth-seeking, fact-checking operation. Remember, this was the early days of the internet when emails were being forwarded by your mom about a kind-hearted couple helping a stranger on the side of the road. And that stranger's name? Bill Gates. Oh! So David and Barbara over on Snopes would routinely get requests to check false claims circulating around the internet through emails or whatnot. They'd say if a claim was true, they would indicate it using a green circle, and if a claim was false, they'd indicate a red circle, or it could be like half true or half false, or unfounded, or unproven. In fact, David Mikkelsen likes to point out that Snopes was so old that it was one of the first websites to even use a search engine type function, even possibly predating common websites like Google.
I identify with the beginning days of the internet, and there you guys were, kind of paving the path before so many other sites. That's pretty historically, that's pretty great.
Yes, before search engines even.
Yeah,
back in the days when Yahoo was still hand compiling directories to the web.
And even their methods to research stories was old-fashioned. In the early days, they didn't even have stuff like Wikipedia to research stories. They had to read like newspapers at the library.
In the early days, it often meant we spent weekends out at the research library at UCLA, looking up old newspaper articles on microfilm, sitting on the floor going through old magazines and books and things. So it was a lot more footwork than it is now.
Which all just drives home just how long Snopes has been around as mainstays of the internet. So a lot of people went to Snopes just to see if the story that they heard about the guy who had a tryst with a lady stranger only to wake up in a bathtub full of ice and one less kidney, whether that story was real or not. Or that story about a girl who was bullied so hard that she died and then came back to life to haunt the bullies that tormented her. And if you don't send this to 5 of your friends, she's going to appear at the foot of your bed and make... But people like me, we used Snopes a little differently. I just used it to look up cool, fun stories, sometimes of a spooky variety. So Snopes unfortunately excluded itself from the Internet Archive, so I can't see what the layout of the website used to look like back in the good old days of the internet, and I promise I am not salty about it. But back in the day, Snopes would have its own collection of different categories on the front home page, and clicking on any one of these categories brought you to a page with a bunch of different stories or claims or rumors, each summarized in just the one sentence, all organized in a handy bulleted list. Each sentence would then hyperlink to a more thorough, detailed, and research-based article by the Snopes staff, usually by David Mikkelsen or Barbara or some other staffer, debunking or even proving the claim in the story. And I swear, as a kid in the 2000s, I got lost in these lists and articles. Even if you weren't super interested in the truth-seeking aspect or not, these were all just interesting stories. No wonder they kept getting shared. Like, did Richard Gere really shove a gerbil up his butt? Really makes you think. Personally, some of my favorite pages to browse were the Disney page, the Glurge page, which was basically feel-good, happy miracle stories, and of course, the horror page. And if you think about it, Snopes was just insanely ahead of its time. In today's climate where fake news is just accepted as gospel, and even smart people will read a headline from a vaguely official-looking source and just automatically assume that it's true if it fits their worldview, a website that aimed to debunk false information in the 90s?
Can't guess you guys aren't ready for that yet. But your kids are gonna love it.
Now, you would think in a post-9/11 world that Snopes would be uniquely positioned to fact-check internet lies of a political nature that plague the web now. But in between a BuzzFeed investigation detailing several articles that David Mikkelsen had plagiarized, some content that was written with false or misleading info, and having Barbara's credit erased from the website after a bitter divorce between the couple, see this Fast Company article for more details, it didn't seem like Snopes was in a particularly great place to be taken seriously as a legit journalistic source. David Mikkelsen cut ties with Snopes, selling his stake of the company in 2022. Snopes is still around, chugging along, but will forever live on as an early internet oddity. And just like other such bizarre and possibly horrific internet nostalgia like Rotten.com, or LiveLeak, or Neopets, there are some truly bizarre stories on Snopes and fact checks and anecdotes that have stuck with people through the years that still persist to this day. I've been Fredster2000, now taking you back to your favorite spooky creator, Mr. Bittersnake.
I appreciate Fredster bringing up urban legends. There's one urban legend that goes, a train crashes and 12 people die. But they're not dead immediately. And one of the men is trying to call family members frantically to stay alive. All of his family members are getting this call, and they are answering it, but every time they answer, it's just static. And then they try calling back, and it goes straight to voicemail. The thing about this urban legend is that it is actually a real thing that happened. This is not so much an urban legend. And thanks to Snopes, a lot of people who thought that this story was fake could rest assured that it was real because of the research that they did. Yes, the man was trapped in the train dying and trying to call his family, but because of some of the magnetics and electronics, it was blocking the phone call from getting through all the way, and when the family members would call back, the call would not be received, sending it straight to voicemail. For 11 hours, that man tried to call his family, and then, in the end, tragically perished at hour 12. When this video would be uploaded to TikTok, people would immediately begin speculating on what is happening here, As a guy shows on Google Earth, there are a bunch of jigsaws riding around an alleyway, and as he clicks forward, it goes inside of a building in which there is a hooded figure, and then there is a clown. And then there are the hooded figures and clowns sitting on the bench inside of the room. And it says what the fuck happens here. Hey, I hope you guys are enjoying the video so far. I wanted to jump in here and let you guys know that tomorrow, because this video should be uploaded the day before Halloween, so tomorrow when you're watching this on Halloween, I'll be doing a live stream. If you guys want to catch that, I'll be trying to probably just be playing some, I don't know, horror themed games or something like that. I might go over some videos or something. I'm not exactly sure on that yet, but I'm definitely going to be playing some horror video games, or at least Halloween themed video games, I suppose. So if you want to tune in for that, that's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be at 11 p.m. Central, so the stream on Halloween night. Alright, I'll let you guys get back to the video. Now, I don't think it takes a genius detective to realize that this is all staged and set up. But the fact that it's on Google Maps is the strange part, because that would mean that somebody who works for Google would have to take those pictures. And that's not necessarily true. And Snopes helps us realize that this was simply a marketing campaign for an escape room. And I'm guessing that they paid money to Google to have it like that on Google Maps. That's pretty cool if you ask me, but that's all that's happening here, is an escape room marketing their escape room. They even go on to give us some background about the company and show us some pictures from their Instagram page, confirming that this is just an escape room, and it's a pretty dedicated one if you ask me. However, Snopes is definitely far from perfect, and I think sometimes they get into the weeds of answering the things that nobody was actually asking. Like in this next situation.
Tender County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
I'm driving on 210. I just crossed the Black River, and I thought I saw a guy standing on the side of the road bleeding.
Okay, where are you at, sir?
I'm on 210. I just crossed the Black River. I'm heading towards 53 East. I just passed Patriots Watch.
Okay, so you're over near Morse Creek?
Yes.
Okay. And did you saw a man standing on the side of the road?
What the?
What was that, sir?
That's not human! That's not human!
Sir, are you okay, sir?
There's something in the bed of my truck!
Okay, what's in the road?
No, it's not in the road. It's in my truck. In the bed.
There's something in the bed of your truck?
Yes, ma'am. I just turned on my bed lights for my truck, and there's something in my bed.
Okay, sir, when you say something, what do you mean?
I just knocked it off of the bed of my truck and went over my roof.
Okay, what was it?
This 911 call would go super viral because the man was yelling, "It's not human," and many TikTokers and YouTubers would run with that premise to say he encountered a cryptid of some type. And stupidly enough, Snopes marks this as true, which, obviously, the phone call is true and it's been confirmed by the police department. But I don't think that's what people are asking, if the phone call is true, but what the man is seeing. Is that true? Because he does go on in this channel that I reference to give an interview and talk about what happened that day.
Well, as you know from the 911 call, right as soon as I reported that, I already had my window up at that point. All of a sudden, I heard a massive bang in on my truck, and my truck bounced down from the rear, like I was pulling a heavy trailer and I hit a pothole.
Wow.
And so I'm sitting there going, "What the hell was that?" Which I'm pretty sure you heard me yell, "What the hell?" I turned on my my bed light, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and all I saw was this white, like snow white face right up against my rear windshield. like it was looking into my truck trying to see what it could see. It had shallow sunken eyes. It had no nose. Just think if you took skin and put it on a human skull and stretched it thin. Couldn't see any ears, just bad.
Now, I don't think that people were asking if the phone call itself to 911 was real, but if what this guy saw was real. And Snopes can do whatever they want, but they can never fact check that one. Only that guy knows for sure what's real or not. He could be making all of this up, and he wouldn't be the first person to do that.
If you scare easily, keep scrolling. But if you're still here, I want to show you something creepy. Disney guests saw a ghost during the fireworks show. Did you miss it? I'm going to show you one more time. Deep behind the castle wall, they noticed this figure.
Anytime I hear that set up on a video, I immediately become skeptical of what I'm being shown, mostly because we all know that that's engagement bait. However, this person claims that they can see a ghost at Disney, and that's in a TikTok that was uploaded recently. But the video I'm showing you is what it was actually ripped from and altered. This is the original recording of the video. However, even on YouTube when this was uploaded many years before that TikTok clip, they still had it titled on YouTube as claiming that it was a ghost watching the fireworks set. Snopes would ultimately debunk this one with a very in-depth debunking that you can go read on their website, basically chalking it up to it could be one of three things: a human that got up there and was just standing, and the silhouette from the light is making it look weird, or it was some type of worker, more than likely somebody who is monitoring the show. The reason I'm so interested in this is I think it's really fun to have a big curated section of horror stuff that is ultimately debunked in the end, also on a website that you really wouldn't expect to see it on. And they cover a ton of creepypastas, which I have a fun time reading, so it's fun to have them all in one place, and then have them give the backstory on the creepypasta, including links of where it might have started, or where it did in fact start. I didn't really talk about any of the creepypastas in this video because I feel like that's not really that entertaining to just sit there and read creepypastas, but it's definitely entertaining to do on your own, read, and then read their debunking of it, because a lot of the times you already heard about the creepypastas, there's only so many of them, and so when you see them on Snopes and you can see what their conclusion was, or if you can see what their reference material was for the creepypastas, it becomes a lot of fun, at least for me. This video is ultimately one of the videos that I've wanted to make for a while, something like it, because I love old internet stuff, and I also like just looking at weird internet shit that can be debunked. And this is one of those types of videos. The stuff in here might not be that obscure, but a lot of it, almost all of this stuff, I didn't even hear about until I was scrolling on Snopes. So I think it's kind of fun that a place like that, so unexpected, I can find things like this to talk about.